Hey everybody, this is a quick demo video to show you how rubrics can be created and used in Canvas. So here I have just a sample assignment. There are a couple of ways that you can create rubrics. One of them is to just start with an assignment that you've already created in Canvas. And once you've finished creating that assignment, whatever it might be, right underneath, after you've finished creating the assignment itself, is this button here where you can create a rubric. So this little plus rubric button. So if I open that up, what it's going to show me is the first place where I can include a title for my rubric. I can include different criteria and then ratings that are associated with points. The cool thing is there's a lot of different options for how you can construct this and then use it, especially for grading purposes. But for right now, if I just give a quick overview, if I want to call this is a new rubric for me, so I'm going to call it, this is my sample rubric. And then for each of the criteria, obviously these are just the different items that you are assessing students with. So you can edit each one of these by clicking on the little pencil icon. And let's say I want to call this thesis statement. You can give a long description as well that will show up in the rubric to give students a little more information about what this particular criteria is all about. But you can just leave it very simply as thesis statement. And then in here is where you can give different ratings to students. And you can change the point values and the number of different ratings that you want to include in your rubric. So for example, if I want to have several different levels for a thesis statement, let's say this is for 4 points, this is near mastery, and then I can give a specific description of perhaps one item in the thesis statement is missing. Now that's clearly not great description language. It doesn't give the student a lot of feedback, but for right now, that'll be the simplest way to do it. And then I can just continue to add more ratings for this criteria in my rubric. Then if I want to add another criteria, I simply click right here where it says plus criterion. And one of the new updates with Canvas now is that you can either create an entirely new one that's worth a different point value, that has different formatting, or I can duplicate the one that I've already created for this rubric. So if I choose this, if I say I'm going to duplicate the thesis statement, now it's going to ask me what do I want to call this new criterion, and let's say this one I want to call citations. I guess I'm going to pretend that I'm an ELA teacher for today. So now I have it's set up exactly the same as the previous criterion, but now it's called citations. And so here maybe I want to edit each of these different ratings to reflect what the citations criterion is all about. Then down below, I have lots of different options for how I want to actually use this with students. So if I'm interested, I can include some free-form comments when I'm grading this for students. So I can type in SpeedGrader some specific feedback for students in addition to what they see on the rubric. If I want to use it for grading, this is an important one. So if I'm actually going to associate this rubric with the final grade for the assignment for a student, then I'm going to make sure that I check this box right here. So if I say, great, this is my rubric, I'm all ready, I'm going to click Create Rubric right here. It's saying that my point value for the assignment and this rubric are different. So I'm just going to say leave different and not worry about that for right now. Great, so now I have a rubric. And the cool thing is, as a teacher, one of the things that really streamlines for us is if I go to SpeedGrader from this assignment right here, then for this particular student, let's assume they've submitted whatever work needs to be done right here. I can click on this button that says View Rubric, and boom, there's the rubric that I just created. And all I need to do to assess this student, click right here and right here, click the red Save button, and now this student has earned a 9 out of 5 for this assignment based on that rubric, and I can just move on to the next student to grade. Simple as that. Now, one of the really cool things about rubrics in Canvas, if you're going to be using the same rubric over and over, It's very easy to create a rubric for an assignment simply by clicking on this button right here that says Find a Rubric. And then I can go in, this is going to look a little bit sloppy, but I can go into my own course or any course that I'm a teacher in, and I can pull a rubric from anywhere else. So perhaps on this assignment, justifying and constructing an explanation, that's a rubric that I want to use for this assignment. And it gives me a little preview of what that looks like. I can click Use this rubric, and here we go. Now on my assignment, I have the rubric justifying and constructing an explanation. So another way that you can create these rubrics now in Canvas is from your course, this list of options on the left-hand side. I can go straight to this rubrics button, and I can create new rubrics here before I even have an assignment. If I know what I want my rubric to look like before I've created the assignment, I can create it right here. Exactly the same way as we did previously, but just a different way to access it. Now, one of the things that I think is most powerful about creating rubrics in Canvas is if you are using the same learning experience, the same skill, if you know you're going to be assessing students on the same types of learning experiences over and over, then you can create what's called a learning outcome. And an outcome is nothing more than a rubric that you've created, except that it is associated with repeated learning. So one of the options, the other option when you're creating a rubric, instead of adding a criterion right here, you can click on Find Outcome. And you can create these outcomes for your course. We can also make them at a higher district level, and you can choose that outcome, whatever you'd like it to be. So this is westward expansion for one of my courses. So I can find this outcome and click Import, and here we go. This is an outcome, a learning outcome for my students where they were assessed on this learning outcome multiple times. And then one of the really powerful things in Canvas is that there's a learning mastery gradebook. And so I can go in and I can see for a student, here are different learning outcomes that my students have been assessed on multiple times. For example, hypothesizing. And I can see there are different ways to manage the data collection, but I can see how an individual or a group of students has performed on that specific learning outcome throughout the course of the year, or theoretically throughout the course of their time at Upper St. Clair. So that's maybe further down the road. For right now, what's most important is the ability to create a simple rubric and then use that for assessing student work. Thanks.